Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of our NR2003 2022 NASCAR Cup Series season here on the channel for race number 2 of 36 on the season, coming to you from Fontana, California at Auto Club Raceway. You are joined as usual by myself and Jay Cook up here in the booth as we get ready to take these next gen cars around this Auto Club Speedway for 100 laps here at this D-shaped 2-mile oval, fresh off of the high banks from Daytona, Florida, where we saw Joey Logano win the Daytona 500 here in our NR2003 series. We got the team right, we got the name of the driver wrong in terms of the real life comparison here and now, as we are ready for the same amount of laps here from Auto Club Speedway, where we see Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman make up the front row. Like I said, joined here by Jay Cook up here in the booth. Jay, excited for this one? Real life, it looks like this track is going to be an absolute handful with these next-gen cars. What are we expecting maybe to see with the vibe here in NR 2003?
I'm not sure if we're really going to know what we're going to see just yet, because we've only been to a play track so far in NR, so this is going to be our real first true test of the season for these guys with this new next-gen car, with the new package, the new handling, everything with this car being brand new. So it's going to be the first true test of it, and no track better, I think, than Auto Club, a track with an old surface. It's a surface drivers have talked about liking. You can go everywhere you want on this track. You can go 4 or 5 wide around it, run any line that you want to, and I think this is just going to be another good race to show off these next-gen cars and just really see what we have for this season. And so, like you mentioned, in real life, it looks like it's going to be a handful. I'm not so sure we're going to see that same thing carry over to NR, but I still think we are going to see the cars be harder to drive than they were previously, and we'll still see a little bit more separation than we had in the past, but I think the draft is still going to come into effect here.
20 lap stages here. Stage 1 comes to a completion at the conclusion of lap 20. Stage 2 completes at the conclusion of lap 40. Then they race it from there to lap 100 to determine who wins here in Auto Club. Now a field run approximately 23 laps, so cutting it a little bit close in stage 1, but stage 2 there will be no pit stops necessary, and in stage 1 there shouldn't be either. In stage 3, on the other hand, we're looking at potentially 2 pit stops there going through that third and final stage, as Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Hendrick Motorsports up here, 3 cars in the top 4, and then William Byron rounding out the top 10 there at the very back, as we are set to get underway for 100 laps around this 2-mile D-shaped oval from Auto Club Speedway. Jay, the first time we've been back to Auto Club since before the pandemic, back in 2020, very, very early 2020 was the last time we were here, just before really the pandemic took off, and we saw Alex Bowman in the 48 car, at the time was the 88 car, pick up the victory here now. So this track has of course gone through 2 years of no Cup Series action. It's gone through lots and lots of changes, and I think we're seeing that showing off already in real life. This track in real life, I think, specifically going to be an absolute just crazy track for these drivers to handle this weekend, especially with this brand new car.
Yeah, I think it's a combination in real life of both the brand new car and the fact that the track hasn't been ran on in 2 years. But you see Truex right there already getting in the wall, coming to end lap 1 here. That's not good for that team, who needs to have a good race here today. And there is already a lot of drivers taking it 3 or 4 wide already early on in this NR race, and they're not going to waste time making moves at all. Like I mentioned, you can go anywhere you want just about on this surface around here, but you got to be careful you don't go too high, put yourself in the wall. You can run the high line around here and make it work really well. You just don't want to put yourself in the wall doing it.
Kevin Harvick up the inside of Bowman and Elliott as they dive down into turn 3. He's going for the lead. We're recording this just after practice and whatnot in real life, and Harvick actually just had a big accident there in practice. In the background, Larson nearly scrapes that outside wall here, and now, as this is really a good opportunity, Jay, this weekend to get a baseline of where some teams might currently line up. Of course, with the way the next gen car is, it's really, you're not necessarily going to know where everybody's still lining up for, I think, a long time to come, but still this weekend definitely a good opportunity to get somewhat of a baseline.
Yeah, certainly, and it's also a good opportunity for NASCAR to continue getting information on these cars, and how they handle, and things that need to change for them. I heard that apparently they added some things to the diffuser, and then they also, I think they probably need to be looking at maybe changing something with the tires as well, because we've seen, Alex Bowman getting in the wall a little bit right there. That should be okay. But we've seen lots of tire issues so far with, once they go flat, you basically can't drive that car, and that is something that I think that every team is going to be begging NASCAR to try and find a way to change, and I don't know if they'll be able to, but that's certainly the number one thing I think that needs to be looked at changing right now, is the fact that, you know, just getting flat tires can end your race, and essentially put you 3, 4, 5 laps down. I mean, like we saw Logano at Daytona, he even went 4 laps down. So the tires right now, I think, are a big issue, just going flat.
And there you see in the background Logano right now, your Daytona 500 winner from our series here last episode there, as he was able to pull off that victory, and Logano type fashion. Denny Hamlin there to the inside of William Byron. Clear, though, side by side with that 16 of AJ Allmendinger, who's back behind the wheel of that car. We expect to see Noah Gragson, Daniel Hemrick as well behind the wheel of that number 16 car throughout the season. That is a car that is not in the driver's standings, but in the owner's standings, of course, there. So you will not have to worry about that car. If it wins, it's not going to take up any playoff positions or anything here, as we continue to see side-by-side action here between Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick. And Jay, these two have a history, of course, but right now seems like none of them want to give up that lead position and give up that clean air.
Been fighting side by side since this race began, and now Harvick gets I think he was clear for a moment of Chase Elliott, but Elliott now going back to the outside of him once again. Neither driver taking it easy right now, and actually Harvick does get clear for the lead, but it'll be interesting to see if Chase Elliott can get a run around that outside and kind of go towards him. But now even Tyler Reddick actually goes to go for second position there. So Chase Elliott may be slipping up a little bit this lap, but doing a really good job of fighting so far early on in this race. Not too sure yet what we're going to see with tire wear, but so far it looks like nobody's really too concerned about that. They're just kind of going all out.
Elliott all the way up on the outside, a little bit out of shape right there, and he's going to be 3 wide with Kyle Busch and Haley on the exit of 4, nearly clips the wall. Does that 9 car as he continues to fall down the order. All of Hendrick Motorsports so far falling a little bit here as these opening laps wind on. Tyler Reddick to the inside of Kevin Harvick as they dive down into turn 1. Reddick picked up a couple of victories in our NR2003 series last season. We'll see if he can do the same this season here as he continues to lose some momentum. So right off the bat, Jay, we're only 6 laps complete, but I'm noticing a bit of a trend is that outside really has a lot of momentum, but on the entry you can really make up a lot of time on the entry in the center of the corner on the inside, but on that exit those guys on the outside have quite the advantage.
Yeah, and that was a little bit risky there for Tyler Reddick. He obviously was on the inside in turn 1 and 2, lost the lead to Harvick, and then Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott were coming with a head of steam because they ran the outside line as well, and he pulled up just in front of them, and luckily they were able to get slowed up enough, get checked up enough to where they didn't run him over. But that was a little bit risky there from Tyler Reddick. Now back to the outside for him, doing a really good job of running so far earlier in this race. I think that his performance so far in this season is indicative of how he's going to be in real life as well. I think we're going to see Tyler Reddick be really strong, and I think we'll see him maybe get his first win or two this season. The same thing there for the 31 in that Justin Haley car. He looks like he's going to be really strong as well, but he's being put 3 wide at the moment, and my goodness, he got really out of shape too. Good job of saving that car, and Ryan Blaney, William Byron, they're taking him 3 wide. They're wanting to be aggressive as well, and everybody being aggressive so far early on in this race.
Ryan Blaney up the inside as they dive down into turn 1, one of the strong competitors last season in both real life and our NR 2003 series. Kyle Larson just behind as well. One thing I was noting, Jay, last week in the Daytona 500 is we touched upon Kyle Busch. He was the culprit of causing the big race-changing crash in the Daytona 500, and he really kicked off last season really rough, and overall the whole season for him in NR 2003 was horrendous, and he kicks off this season in the exact same fashion. Here he is today having a nice top 3 run here, only 10 laps in, but that team, it doesn't seem to matter what we do to Kyle Busch's AI. Clearly he's got a strong AI, but there's always something going wrong with this 18 car, it seems like, in this series.
And there's still plenty of time for something to go wrong for him again in this race as well, because we've seen several times last year where he was having good runs and then something would just happen in the middle of it where he put himself in the wall or somebody else would get into him, and he'd wind up going from having a pretty decent race to a pretty bad race. So hopefully that doesn't happen again for Kyle Busch. I hope he has a better year this year than he did last year. He had horrible luck last season, and a lot of times the commentators curse. Yeah, he did. He missed the playoffs as well. And a lot of the times with him, and a lot of times we've seen with a lot of drivers, is the commentator's curse has happened. So I'm kind of surprised that we've been talking about Kyle Busch for about 2 laps now, and nothing has happened to him yet.
Busch missed the playoffs last year. He was also winless all of last season. There was a couple of races where he had an opportunity to go to victory lane, but unfortunately fell short by the end of the event here. Now, as we look a little bit further down at the order outside of the top 10, you see Daniel Suarez there in the 15th position. Just behind, you got Custer and his Stewart Haas Racing teammate of Chase Briscoe up the inside as they're going to scrap it out there now. And then a little bit further down, you got that 20 of Christopher Bell, the 2 of Austin Cindric. Not a great run for him so far. Ross Chastain as well. Bubba Wallace there just outside of the top 20, and Almirola, Kurt Busch. Right now, Jay, I'm noticing that both RFK, the Rush Fenway Keselowski cars, and the 2311 cars not doing so hot so far. Both teams find themselves in those 2-car teams outside of the top 20.
Yeah, struggling a little bit so far early on in this race for both of those teams. And Kurt Busch running there. He's not looked the greatest so far in this race, and hopefully that's just kind of a getting used to this car type of thing. I mean, you can see his teammate Bubba Wallace right in front of him. They're so far kind of struggling, and same thing with RFK as well. And I think Keselowski coming over to RFK was hoping that that team would be much better than they had been in previous years, but so far, at least on our side of things, they have not had the performance that they were hoping to have. And then let me back here, you got this group that is really, really struggling. Harrison Burton, actually, I think that is the last place car in this race. He is way off the pace right now from where he wants to be, and that is not the ideal place to be for the driver of that 21 car.
Absolutely not now, as we continue to see Kevin Harvick lead the way over Tyler Reddick. Less than 10 laps to go already in stage 1 here and now, as that 4 cars in command, but we're starting to see a bit of a trend here of single file action there. Everybody just kind of staying put in line in the slipstream. Byron Larson there, both pulling out a line there in their Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets. Elliott there, P3. Kyle Busch, Justin Haley round out the top 5. So now, Jay, we're already looking at it. It looks like with the way the tire wear is and whatnot, that they can really scrap it out for the first 10 laps or so, but now it turns into a bit of a follow the leader, and I feel like we've already been proven that if you go to the inside, your hopes aren't very high unless you clear the car that you're trying to pass before you get to the exit of the corner.
Yeah, the only way you're going to be able to make anything work on the inside is if you do a slide job, and we saw it right there. I mean, Chase Elliott tried it, and he wasn't able to get the pass done, and now potentially losing another position to Kyle Busch when they come off of turn 2. If Kyle Busch goes high, and he will, Chase Elliott stays low. So Kyle Busch might get the run on the outside, but Chase Elliott is also clear at the moment. So that outside line is crucial, and you can see the giant run that Kyle Busch gets there. Chase Elliott had no chance to pull up in front of him, and Kyle Busch is going to slot in to our 3rd position now, and that outside lane is proving to just be too powerful to run around it. You get a big run up there, and the inside you can be quicker in the entry and in the center of the corner, but you will lose all of it on exit down the crucial straightaway.
There you see Alex Bowman now taking a shot to go up the inside of that 31. It seems, Jay, I don't know, it looks like turn 2 is where it seems to be making the biggest difference. Now you're seeing the cars on the inside, down the front straightaway. They're kind of able to hold their own, but they're not able to get in front. But it really seems like turn 2, it's where it makes the difference. I think we're about to see that with the 31 car.
Yeah, Justin Haley's going to get a big run right here on Alex Bowman. You could see it before they're even off the corner. He started getting a run. And same thing with his teammate of AJ Allmendinger. He's also making a run on Alex Bowman. So 2 colleague cars passing 200 cars right there. And Bowman's still putting up a good fight, actually, to AJ Allmendinger. But he's got the inside right now down here in 3 and 4. And did a pretty good job of staying side by side right there. But AJ Allmendinger is going to get a little bit of a run off turn 4. But yeah, actually, like you mentioned, it's still holding. The inside line can still hold there on the front straightaway. But the back straightaway, it's at a huge disadvantage.
A lot of Chevrolet power up here in the top 10. You got Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Haley Bowman, the 16 of Allmendinger, the 24 of William Byron, and the 5 of Kyle Larson, who's just in front of Ryan Blaney, but he might not be in the top 10 for long, because around the outside, that 12 car for Penske Racing is going to go through there and try to move himself into some stage points paying positions here. As starting next episode, after the first 2 races, we will start to display the points here on the end of these episodes for you guys to get a good indicator of where everybody is stacking up right now, as Elliott still scrapping it out with the 31 of Haley, and now coming to 3 laps to go on the stage, Jay. Looks like Tyler Reddick might be fancying up a move for the lead as they go down into turn 1.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Tyler Reddick, is going to head into turn 1 and 2 here on the inside, not really able to get anything done here on Kevin Harvick, even if he gets clear of him, which he won't. Harvick will still have a run around the outside, and you'll see there he gets a big run off of turn 2. Kyle Busch going to get a big run as well, but not enough to get to Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick is going to have to still just kind of hold there in 2nd place. He can maybe try something on Kevin Harvick, but as long as he's forced to go to the inside, he's going to be at a major disadvantage in turn 1 and 2.
Very clean race so far here from Auto Club. From all the testing I did, it looks like we're in for probably one of the cleaner races of the season now, as we continue to see Kyle Busch to the inside. 2 laps to go already in stage 1, as it has completely flown by very quick here now, as you can see that outside once again prevailing already even into the center of the corner. That's going to keep Reddick ahead in the 2nd position. Busch continues on the inside. This whole line of cars here right now in line, and that's the thing, Jay, I mean, you almost are going to be in a position where you're too afraid to maybe make a move to the inside as well, because you look back, if you're, say, Kyle Busch or Chase Elliott, you have a line of 7-8 cars behind you that could pounce on that opportunity and kind of hang you out, almost like a plate race kind of deal.
Yeah, you don't want to be to that inside line at all, especially off turn 2. Off turn 4, you can kind of make it work. You see Chase Elliott kind of able to make it work right now, but when he's going to go down to turn 1 and 2, be the inside, he's going to be at a major disadvantage. Lose the position to Kyle Busch, potentially Justin Haley, and maybe AJ Allmendinger as well. But as we're coming down here on the final lap, Tyler Reddick, He's sitting behind Kevin Harvick at the moment, off turn 2, in the same line as him, not really able to put up any kind of fight. He did get the run off turn 2, but I don't think he's going to be able to make anything happen in turn 4. He's probably going to try it, but I don't think he'll be able to make anything happen in that inside lane. Actually, he's going to go just a little bit higher than Harvick here, and maybe get the run around the outside. Nope, not enough there at all. Kevin Harvick did a really good job there in 3 and 4.
Kevin Harvick out of turn 4 down the front straightaway. He will come through to win this first and opening stage from Auto Club Speedway. If you remember the last year, Kevin Harvick won the Daytona 500. He went back-to-back, won week number 2 at the Daytona Road Course, and then had about the worst luck imaginable from that point on. Made it into the playoffs, was actually a very early elimination. Then I believe he actually went to Talladega in the playoffs and won for the 3rd time of the season, but unfortunately for him, at that point, he was already eliminated from the playoffs. So Jay, I mean, kind of like Kyle Busch, although Harvick won 3 races, he actually had a miserable season just like that 18 of Kyle Busch. It's just the wins locked him in, and we did the points tallying and whatnot. Harvick, without his 2 wins at the beginning of the year, would have actually missed the playoffs in our series as well last year. So Harvick as well, I think something to prove in this NR series this year as he looks for a nice bounce back.
He certainly did have a rough year last year, and unfortunately for Harvick, pretty much the time that he got eliminated from the playoffs is when he started getting his performance back, and he performed pretty well to end the year last year. Just unfortunately for him, he was not in the playoffs anymore, and this time around, he wins stage 1 in Auto Club, off to a good start in the second race of the season. We'll have to see if that carries over for the rest of this race and the rest of the year, because he's certainly going to look to have a turnaround season, and the same thing there for that guy in 3rd place, Kyle Busch.
Very strong runs for them there, as you saw the top 10 on the top left of your screen there now. As Denny Hamlin rounds out the top 10, him and Kyle Larson 9th and 10th. Those two were the strongest forces all season long last season, and at the end of it, none of them won the title here in our 2003 series. That actually went to Eric Almirola, who's in his final season of course, real life racing and our NR 2003 series. As everybody makes their pit stops here, as we look to see who's going to win the race off, as Harvick, of course, in number 1 position here at the end of stage 1, but will he be P1 here? And when he exits, it looks like it's in his favor. Yes, Kevin Harvick is going to easily roll off and take the lead. A little bit close there with Reddick, but ELLIOTT there, I mean, already Jay, a big loser. And yeah, Kyle Busch, but that 9 car and the 18 both very, very slow, and the 12 as well in the background.
Yeah, really slow stops for the 19, or for the 9 and the 18, sorry. Both of them losing a lot of spots on pit road right there. They were sitting, I think, second and third, or no, 3rd and 4th, sorry, and now they are gonna be weighed down in this field. And like you mentioned, for Ryan Blaney as well, so perhaps maybe a little bit of damage repair needed to go on for those cars. I'm not too sure what would have had to slow them down there, but obviously not the ideal situation for those drivers to be in. Now they're going to be forced to be back in the pack and have to gain that position back in this race if they want to also get stage points again in stage 2.
We're going to go for a quick break here from Auto Club Speedway, and we will be back for Stage 2. Some less laps here in Stage 2, which gives these guys a little bit more freedom to really scrap it out here as we look and get ready to go green. Back from Auto Club here, ready to go green for the start of Stage 2. Now that will complete at the conclusion of lap 40, and then we'll race it from there on out for the final stage to win from Auto Club. Who will it be now, as Kevin Harvick was in command in stage 1? And Jay, I think what the thing that really kind of popped out to me in this first and opening stage is, if you want to take the lead, I think you want to do it as early as possible, because once those tires start to wear out and you get forced into that train, it's very hard to make a pass for the lead. So if you're anybody right now behind Kevin Harvick, you want to try and get this pass done within, I feel like, the first 10 laps of the run.
And if you get an opportunity to make a pass for the lead as well, you got to take it simply because that leader is probably always going to be defending that outside line. But if they have one little slip up and you get an opportunity, you got to take it and you got to try. Even if the spotter's not giving you directly clear, you got to at least try to maybe clear yourself, or at least try and make a run at it, side draft, do anything you can, because that outside line looks so crucial so far. So hopefully this time around we get to see a little bit more competitiveness for that lead, and not just them being single file and defending that outside lane.
Amped is coming, by the way, at the end of Stage 2. Going into Stage 3, we will have Amped for the first time this season. We didn't do it in the Daytona 500, but we will have it here in today's episode now. Only 15 laps of racing already left in this second stage here from Auto Club. A pretty lengthy third and final stage of 60 laps it will be, which will require about 2 green flag pit stops now. As like I said, a field run is approximately 23-24 laps, so definitely going to be interesting to see how the pit stops come in and play a factor in this race in that third and final stage. You see Denny Hamlin all the way to the outside there, on the outside of that 48 of Alex Bowman. He is, and Hendrick Motorsports just in general up here on the mix right now. William Byron's gotten up here on the mix as well. He was the Circuit of the Americas winner last season here, a part of our NR2003 series. And we look a little bit further back, Jay, those drivers that had some bad pit stops: Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. Well, specifically right now, we're starting to see Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott actually definitely clearly proving that they have some strong cars, because they're starting to make a little bit of progress through this field already.
And Kyle Busch going 3 wide right there through 1 and 2, but it didn't work out for him. He wound up being on the bottom and not able to gain anything out of it. So Kyle Busch is going to need to find his way to that middle lane or top lane there. In 3 and 4, you can see it work. He's got the better speed than Bubba Wallace. He's going to get himself clear. So he is beginning to make up some ground, but he's going to need to do it very quickly, because this stage is much shorter than it was the first time around. It's only 17 or 18 or so laps instead of the normal 20 that we had for stage 1 because of those caution laps. So Kyle Busch has got to get it picked up here. Same thing with Chase Elliott. If they want to go and grab some stage points and be in a good position again.
Ryan Blaney as well in the background, trying to move his way forward in that number 12 Penske Ford Mustang. Daniel Suarez, he's currently side by side with Timmy Hill as they dive down into turn 3. Suarez currently going for 29th place, another driver who had a rough pit stop here. And now, and one of the drivers, though, that was able to capitalize, a couple drivers capitalized on the pit lane there, and including Brad Keselowski in that number 6 car, the one of Ross Chastain. I mean, Jay, they were outside of the top 20 earlier. Well, now Keselowski finds himself up here in 14th place. So as some drivers had some misfortune on the pit lane, Keselowski, one of the few that had some good fortune here as he continues to fight with that 9 car.
And look at him there on the outside lane, just getting a huge run on Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's putting up a pretty good fight here to Brad Keselowski, but Brad Keselowski's not giving up that outside lane and making it work right now and keeping himself in front of Chase Elliott and trying to get his way. Both of those drivers trying to find their way into this top 10 to get some stage points. Like you mentioned, Brad Keselowski perhaps getting a little bit of good luck there with the pit stop, and he's showing so far that he does have decent pace to at least stick with this group around the top 10. Last time around, he was in a disconnected pack in a second or third group, but this time he's staying with him, and Chase Elliott actually gets well cleared there in turn 1 and 2. Brad Keselowski had to let way off, and Chase Elliott just sent it in there and got himself clear.
Elliott up another position there as he closes in on the top 10 here. Up towards the top 10, you got Kyle Larson scrapping it out here with Joey Logano. This is an 8th and 9th place battle. Denny Hamlin with a bit of a moment right there. He's going to go all the way up to the top here alongside Kyle Larson, and just about into the outside wall as well for good measure as they continue 3 wide down the front straightaway. But Hamlin continues to pull with that slipstream from that 48 car to get himself back out in front of these guys as they dive down into turn 1. Larson still continuing, though, to try and fight up that inside. Alex Bowman just in front with William Byron, the 31 of Haley, the 16 of Allmendinger, the 8 of Reddick, and the 4 of Kevin Harvick continue to lead the way. Now, Jay already looking well in favor of that 4 car, the 2014 Cup Series champion of Kevin Harvick here with 10 laps to go, coming to 9 to go in stage 2. Now at this point, you got to wonder, what's it going to take to be able to kind of dethrone that number 4 car at this point?
Kevin Harvick has been absolutely dominant this race, and he's had Tyler Reddick chasing him practically this whole entire time, and Reddick is not letting him get anywhere. Unfortunately, not able to put much of a fight so far, but still sticking right with Kevin Harvick, and Kevin Harvick has pretty much led every single lap so far, doing a great job of leading this race and not really giving up any opportunities for anybody to pass him. But we got AJ Allmendinger there in 3rd place now. His teammate Justin Haley right behind him in 4th place. Those colleague cars so far in this race are showing to be pretty strong. We've seen both of them march forward. Now they're in 3rd place. Are they going to be able to make anything happen here on Reddick or Kevin Harvick? We'll have to wait and see.
Harvick's got a lot of Chevrolets lined up behind him here that could maybe try and work together. And then you got a Toyota of Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. up here in the top 10, but Chase Elliott is continuing to move his way closer and closer there. Chastain currently finds himself in 11th place, but maybe not for long, as Elliott there wants something to say about that now. As I mean, Jay, it's quite spectacular here. You're comparing him to Kyle Busch as well as Ryan Blaney. Elliott's really got, I think, a stronger car than maybe we had estimated there, because it takes a very strong car to be able to do what he's doing right now.
And you can see he still loses some time down the back straightaway because he's in that inside lane, but it's nowhere near what we've seen drivers lose before, and he's able to make the inside lane, then work in 3 and 4 and get passes done still. So he does have a very strong car, and he's working that inside lane really well, losing some time still down the back straightaway, as I mentioned, but not nearly as much as we've seen other drivers lose it, and he's able to keep himself right there in 3 and 4 to then go ahead and make a pass. So Chase Elliott does have a very quick car, but does he have the time to do anything with it this stage, and then does he have the time in stage 3 to really gain up the position and then put a fight on to Kevin Harvick if he's still leading this race when he gets there?
Keselowski side by side with Busch, Truex just behind. As we look a little bit further down the field, Bubba Wallace side by side there briefly with his new teammate of Kurt Busch there. As we saw in real life, Jay, Bubba Wallace come up just a 3/4 of a car length short from winning the Daytona 500 here, and that's actually 3 restrictor plate races in a row that he's finished second or better at a restrictor plate race, which is an absolute crazy stat. And I feel like Bubba Wallace really is starting to prove that when it comes to restrictor plate tracks, he's one of the guys to beat time in, time out again.
Yeah, he's never been one of those guys I think anybody has considered as a play track guy. I don't even think he's considered himself to be a play track guy, but recently he's done really well on them, and there's been several times the last couple of years where he's finished second, third, and been close to a win several times. So Bubba Wallace really knows how to get it done on those play tracks, and just has only gotten the win one time, but been close to it several times. And kind of the same thing there for Ryan Blaney, who we were just looking at. Blaney has been close so many times on the play tracks as well, and gotten a couple wins out of it, but usually always right there towards the end of the race at the front of the pack and trying to go for a victory. And last week, unfortunately, got put in the wall by his teammate of Austin Cindric, but they were racing really hard for the win, and Austin Cindric wanted to make sure he got his first win there for Penske, and did a fantastic job of doing so and getting his first win in, I think, his like second, third, fourth start ever in the Cup Series. So for Austin Cindric, already a winner this season and already in the playoffs too, that's huge for him.
The 20 car there of Christopher Bell struggling hard to make his way through the traffic. He was another driver with a bad pit stop, and he is still all the way down throughout towards the bottom part of the grid. You got that 42 Ty Dillon struggling a little bit compared to his teammate of that number 43 of Eric Jones here, who's a little bit further up the grid now as we continue to watch ahead. Coming up on 3 laps to go already in stage 2, and Kevin Harvick continues to lead over that guy right there, Tyler Reddick, who clearly doesn't seem to have any intentions of making a move right there. We saw him tucked right in behind that Ford car down that back straightaway into turn 3. I mean, Jay, if you're Tyler Reddick, maybe you're thinking about riding here and maybe focusing on stage 3, and I think most importantly focusing on if we get to green flag pit stops in stage 3, that really could be where this race could be decided, especially with 2 green flag pit stops potentially on the way here in that third and final stage.
I think Reddick was perhaps trying to force Kevin Harvick into a mistake that last time going into turn 3. He was so close on Harvick's bumper right there tucked in behind him that perhaps he was trying to push him a little bit and sail him off into turn 3 and make him go wide, and then Reddick could steal the line, but obviously it didn't work, and this time not as close either. And perhaps also too trying to pull away a little bit from Allmendinger and now William Byron behind him, making sure they don't have a chance to make a run at Reddick forcing the second place position as we come down to just 2 laps to go in this stage already. Both stages so far have flown by, and then stage 3 is going to be upon us before we know it. And like you mentioned, green flag pit stops could be a possibility in that stage if they go green, and that is going to be what I think will certainly shake this up, especially if that performance that we saw on pit road the first time happens again, where we had some drivers have really slow stop and some others have really quick ones.
William Byron there trying to scrap it out with these 2 colleague cars. Now colleague really representing here today with their full-time driver of Haley up in the top 5. Their part-time driver of Allmendinger as well joining in the top 5 as Byron really wants to get up into P3 now as they exit turn 4 there. Especially, I mean, Jay, if you're William Byron coming to the final lap, you know every point matters, especially in this series where everything's so unpredictable in terms of who's going to make the playoffs. And right now he's trying to battle a guy who's going to get 8 points, but those points aren't going to be scored towards him. So of course, if you're William Byron, you really want to try and get that extra point.
Yeah, you really do. You want to try and get every point possible as well. Like you mentioned, it's really important for them to do that. And William Byron has done a pretty good job, I think, so far of getting himself into this 4th place position. But it looked like he just does not have enough to get up to that AJ Allmendinger machine right now, and going to possibly settle for 4th place. But Hendrick so far, overall, looking really good. All 4 of their cars right there, almost inside the top 5.
And it's going to be Kevin Harvick again winning stage 2, Tyler Reddick second. You see, I mean, great mention there by Jay. Look at these Hendrick cars right now. Byron will get 4th. Larson's going to be P6, Bowman P7, and Chase Elliott in 8th place. Hendrick Motorsports and this next-gen car collectively looking very strong. Yeah, Chevrolet as well with Reddick in the 31.
Of the top 10.
Yeah, just a Ford in first and a Toyota in P9. So, I mean, yeah, that's a great point, Jay, as they're heading to the pit lane. Chevrolet already looks like a huge force to be reckoned with, I think.
Yeah, they only got 2 Fords in the top 10. I mentioned, or I just noticed that Logano was actually 10th place. So 2 Fords in the top 10, 1 Toyota, the rest Chevys, and all 4 of them Hendrick. And then we got Reddick up here and both colleague cars as well. So really strong so far for the Chevys. But do they have anything for this 4 of Kevin Harvick? The Fords might be struggling a little bit right now, but he certainly is not. He's led almost every lap of this race, if not every lap. I'm not too sure how the first couple of laps went. But nobody's been able to really put a challenge on him since we were first 2 wide to begin this race. So Kevin Harvick going to come to pit road here. Hope that he has a good pit pit stop, and then hope he can also continue to keep that lead as all those Chevys are going to maybe look to work together to get around him.
Down the pit lane we go. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, as well as the 20 of Christopher Bell and the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Those are four drivers we really noticed that struggled in the pit lane at the conclusion of stage one. So we'll see how they fare this time through. Now, as Elliott did a tremendous job working his way back into the top 10. Kyle Busch was working his way forward, but then ended up getting stuck behind his JGR teammate of Martin Truex Jr. Now, as they all head into their respective pit boxes here. Now, as Elliott is going to get his right sides jacked up, just a single lug nut, of course, here on these wheels this season with this next gen car there. The 16 already pulling out. There goes the 4 of Harvick, so a good stop for him. He's going to be P1 from the looks of it, side by side, but not enough there for Reddick. And once again, Jay, the 9 and the 18 relatively slow again on their pit boxes, and the 12, it's like the same 4 as last time, actually, the 20 as well. I don't know, maybe what could be causing that for the same 4 drivers.
I was thinking the first time perhaps it was just the them needed to take some damage repair, but certainly not again on the second time. I think that just the ratings are coming into a little bit of a play here, and their crew did not get a high of a rating as some of the others around them did. So that green flag pit stop, if it does happen, that is really going to hurt them. It's going to hurt them whether it comes under caution or green flag, either way. But if it comes under green flag conditions, that is really going to hurt those 3 drivers there.
And once again, we're going to go for a break here from Auto Club Speedway, and we will be back to take you to the end of this third and final stage, which is set to get underway here in a few moments' time. We'll be back from Auto Club Speedway. Back from Auto Club Speedway, ready to go green for the start of the third and final stage here. Now, Elliott, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, all having really poor pit stops here today. They find themselves in a bad spot going into this third and final stage, and now they only have about 56 laps to go from where they are to try and rebound, with probably 2 guaranteed more pit stops before this race comes to a close. Now, as the pace car is off, Kevin Harvick will lead the field back to the green, and what we're going to do here for the start of stage 3 is, for the first time today and for the first time this season actually, it is time to get amped here from Auto Club. There you have the AMP segment here from Auto Club Speedway now, as Kevin Harvick continues to lead over that number 8 of Tyler Reddick. AJ Allmendinger up here on the Mix and Xfinity Series regular, doing a tremendous job in that colleague equipment. Denny Hamlin has gotten himself into the top 5 as well as we come through out of turn 2 down this back straightaway. Now, as Jay, we're already seeing still very tough to make a pass on that number 4 of Kevin Harvick, and I really think what Tyler Reddick has to look at doing, and anyone and for that matter, is maybe pitting about a lap or so before that 4 car, because I mean what we do see is they're able to stay with that 4 car, so I feel like just pitting 1 lap earlier will probably be enough to make a big enough difference to be able to gain a spot over him. As well, we see the 9 of Elliott already into the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to try something right to get past Kevin Harvick at this moment because it certainly doesn't seem like you're gonna be able to make the pass on him on the racetrack. Like you said, they can stick with him, but they can't really find a way to get around him. So I think pit stops is the number one way you look at that and try and get on pit road early, like I mentioned. And then Chase Elliott here. I mean, he's already making up a ton of ground. Maybe the same thing for him as well. Try and pit a couple laps early and gain those positions back that he lost there under those pit stops. But at the same time, I think you have to be a little bit worried if you're him and if you're his entire team because they've had 2 bad pit stops so far. And so if that continues for a third one, it may not matter when they pit. They may wind up still. They may still wind up losing position and time anyways because they're just not able to have good pit stops today.
And that's what Kevin Harvick likes to see right there. Second and third, scrapping it out as they go down this back straightaway. Reddick easily clear, and Denny Hamlin's going to try and take advantage. Nearly turned into some contact, actually, between that 16 and that 11 there now. And that's the thing, Jay. If you get hung out there on the inside, you're looking for any hole to get up as soon as you can so you don't lose too much momentum. But at some point, that could really turn into a very chaotic situation with drivers having to, of course, check up, or some points maybe someone won't check up there, and that could lead to an accident and end your day.
You almost have to force yourself clear if you go to that inside lane in turn 1 and 2, because if you don't, you're going to wind up getting freight trained, especially with the way we are right here off the restart, where there's a pretty large train still of cars all the way back to 8th, 9th place or so. So for Allmendinger, he did a good job. And same thing, I mean, you saw it there with just Joey Logano going into turn 3. He kind of had to force his way in front of Larson to make sure he didn't lose a spot. But it seems like so far, I don't know if you've noticed this, Gary, but it seems like in turn 3 and 4, the inside lane is actually the preferred lane. There's been several drivers who've gone down there, and they've made passes in 3 and 4 on the inside, and then in 1 and 2, you obviously want to be on the high side.
I think, especially on the final lap, you might want to look at diving down to the inside in 3 and 4 specifically. That could be your best opportunity because you don't have to worry at that point about turns 1 and 2 and whatnot. There, as you see Logano, though, not able to make it work. Will he slide up again? Oh, he tried it right there, but Larson shuts the door, barely says no. He was able to stick his fender in there, and here comes Chase Elliott into the mix as well. And that number 9, he's now up into the 9th place, looking for P8, P7, and beyond that part as well. There, as you see Kyle Busch still outside of the top 10 in 12th place. He was up there in the mix earlier. The 31 of Haley as well down the order, but Keselowski, I mean, Jay, a driver that was outside of the top 20, appeared to be struggling earlier, now doing a good job actually solidifying himself up inside the top 15.
Done a really good job so far, Keselowski has. Ever since stage 1, he's put himself in a pretty good position, in a much better position than he was. And so certainly it looks a little bit better. Actually, it looks like the 38 has some damage. Certainly something happened there with him off the restart. That's unfortunate for Todd Gillen. We'll have to potentially go back and look for a replay of that later. But yeah, for Keselowski, he's had a pretty good race ever since stage 1 and done a nice job on pit road so far to keep those positions that he's gained as well. And perhaps looking a little bit stronger than I thought he would look so far early on in the season.
And we actually do have a quick look at what happened to that 38 of Todd Gilliland. So let's get a quick look at what just happened there, which has now put him in the pit lane, servicing his number 38 Ford Mustang. Here's what happened to the number 38 of Todd Gilliland. Blows up as he goes down into turn 1 and into the wall he goes there. And Jay, I'm a bit surprised to see no caution. That's a lot of smoke, and he even comes to a stop.
Yeah, he came to a stop on the racetrack, and they didn't call a caution for it. So, interesting move by NASCAR there to not throw the caution, but obviously able to get himself to pit road still safely, and we were able to keep the racetrack green. And now we're going to look back to see Kevin Harvick still leading this race.
There is Kevin Harvick right there, leading the way as it goes down in the turn 3. Reddick still second place. Then you got that 16 of Allmendinger just behind Denny Hamlin as well. William Byron rounding out that top 5 now as we're already closing in towards some green flag pit stops here momentarily. What we are going to do though from Model Club real quick is go for a quick break, and we'll be back in time for the first set of green flag pit stops here from Fontana, California on this overcast day. Back from Auto Club, the 16 well off the pace of AJ Allmendinger here as we come back out of turn 2. He's got a whole swamp of cars coming at him, Jay, and not sure what's going on with that 16, but drastically he has fallen off the pace after running in the top 5 all day long.
And we thought maybe he was out of fuel, but he still ran a couple of laps since then, so he's definitely not out of fuel, but something is obviously going on with that 16, and so far I don't know how the heck they have not created a wreck, but doing a good job of not doing so. But AJ Allmendinger deciding to still stay on the track and not get out of the way of this group.
Unbelievable. He's going to remain on track, and it looks like down the straightaways it's really weird. He's got speed, and then right there you can see it all goes away. Daniel Suarez, Eric Almirola, they're going to go by on the outside. Green flag pit stops, by the way, coming here very momentarily, maybe even this lap or the next lap here, as they're all just going to swarm him and continue to navigate around that 16 machine with no problems at all. But Jay, I mean, overall, I mean, I think what's most surprising here is we do have green flag pit stops. Kevin Harvick's going to be the first one, actually, to come into the pit lane. So maybe a bit of a bold move, especially with maybe a caution coming from that 16 car, depending on what happens here.
And not even giving the 8 car or anybody else behind them a chance to get to pit road and undercut that 4 car. So that might have been their only chance, just taken away right there, unless a caution happens to come out after they put Kevin Harvick a lap down. So we'll have to wait and see how long they wait to pit and if there's potentially a caution still coming, because that 16 is still staying on the racetrack.
I would expect to see him pitting soon, and Jay unfortunately can't hear audio, but I can, and it sounds like it is down a few cylinders at least now, as we look to see the rest of the field coming in here within the next few laps. There comes Tyler Reddick, here comes Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Bowman, Kyle Busch as well. Keep an eye on Kyle Busch as well as Chase Elliott throughout this pit cycle now to see if they can, of course, get in and out of the pit lane without any issues. Now Logano and Elliott and Larson, they all stay on the track, and here now comes that 16 car, so he is going to get out of Dodge for the time being here, but we're going to look at Kyle Busch and kind of compare him to everybody else, see if they can get that car serviced in time. And I mean, Jay, I mean, now these guys really are going to have to look at maybe trying to undercut Harvick on that second pit stop, because we know tires, they play a big role here, and I'd be shocked if Harvick wasn't leading at the end of this fuel run.
The only thing that can maybe play into an advantage of them is that Harvick gets such a big gap here from pitting a lap early that everybody else behind them stays in the group, and they get a massive run on him with draft, and they get to go around him that way. And Kyle Busch does look like he's going to be a little bit slow again on that pit stop one more time and lose a couple more positions. So unfortunate for
Bowman
the
was
18 car
slow
there. Yeah, Bowman also slow as well. That's also going to put another Hendrick car down the order. But unfortunate for Kyle Busch, who was having a good run so far. Next, Jay Allmendinger is actually going back out on track.
So it'll be interesting to see if Allmendinger has enough speed or not in that car now, as we see Harvick has a huge lead.
Gone.
He is checked out, but will those tires make a difference? Everything now starting to spread out. Chase Elliott, he is in the pits as well. We'll see if he gets himself out in front of that 5 of Kyle Larson. That'll be a good judgment to see where he's really stacking up, and it's not going to happen. Oh, no, he got out. Actually, yeah, he's going to be okay. So he had a pretty good pit stop right there. He's going to be side by side. Oh, maybe a little bit too side by side. Elliott's crashed. Byron piles in. Hendrick Motorsports has had a downfall. That's a teammate. Kyle Busch is involved. Oh, my goodness, we got the big one from Auto Club Speedway. The caution's gonna fly, and oh my goodness, how did they make it through there without dying? I will never know. Oh my god, the caution will fly. Have you ever, Jay?
No, I have never. Those were all teammates, and they just crashed each other and caused the big one. Parker brakes once again. NR is back. Here we are.
I have no words. I have absolutely no words to describe what just happened. Kyle Larson hooks his teammate of Chase Elliott head on into the outside wall after they were exiting the pit lane side by side. William Byron piles in. 3 Hendrick cars just had an altercation, and the only one remaining in non-drama fashion is Alex Bowman, who had a rough pit stop. He is way behind, but now Kyle Larson, he got through that scot-free. And I mean, well, right there, Jay, I mean, kind of a smart tactic. Larson just took out 2 really quick cars, and now he's up here in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly an interesting tactic there from him, and it wound up hurting 2 of his teammates, and Kyle Busch getting involved as well.
There it is. There's that Kyle Busch luck.
Yeah, Kyle Busch might have been able to escape with just minimal damage, but certainly a lot of others on pit road already with massive damage to their vehicles. This crash really hurt a whole lot of good contenders in this race, and just once again, I mean, a whole lot of cars came in there flying as well, deciding not to use their brakes.
And you see everybody really stays out right there, and nobody can make it to the end of this race yet. So still a guaranteed pit stop on the way. Look at the damage done to the number 23 of Bubba Wallace. Even with the composite bodies, still lots of damage being dealt there. The 43 of Eric Jones involved, Martin Truex Jr., Austin Dillon, and of course, we would love to get a look at what just happened there. You got the 24 of William Byron heavily damaged, and the 12 and the 17, they're on the pit lane. But that 9 of Chase Elliott, don't know if it's going to be the end of the day for him, but but the 38 is out, and so is the 50 of Kaz Gralla. Elliott, Byron Jones, Bubba Wallace, and the 77 of Landon Castle already scored a lap down, and the 45 of Kurt Busch, the 19 of Truex, and the 3 of Austin Dillon have now retired from this race. So let's go get a look at what just happened here as chaos picked up after a very calm race so far in Auto Club Speedway. So here's the first look of Elliott and Larson exiting the pit lane. I mean, Jay, it looks like Larson just wasn't willing to cut the 9 a break there into turn 1.
Chase Elliott certainly did come across his nose, but he was just trying to get back to the racing surface, and obviously Larson didn't cut him a break, and it spins Elliott right up in front of William Byron, and then Elliott just goes careening in front of the field. A whole lot of cars get involved. He flips over multiple times. So does William Byron. A whole lot of cars getting involved in this. I mean, you can see drivers 10, 15 seconds behind this wreck still flying into it, getting involved. Christopher Bell with some contact with Greg Biffle. Landon Castle got hard contact. A whole bunch of people got really big contact in this wreck. And you and I were speculating if Chase Elliott was done in this race, Gary. Well, I think that replay of the wreck right there that we didn't know he had flipped over, I think that shows that he's going to be done from this race.
I would assume so. On board with Kyle Larson here now as they go down towards turn 1. They just merge together, and around the 9 goes head on, and oh my goodness, he just barely escaped death with that number 24 as chaos ensues in the background. On board with Harrison Burton down into turn 1, you see the chaos already ensuing. I mean, Jay, for him, it's just back it down and hope for the best. You can't see much in his POV at all.
Yeah, listen to that spotter, certainly, and go wherever that spotter tells you, back it down, don't fly in here at all. And I mean, he was pretty much the first one to make it through, I think, cleanly of all those drivers around him, because everybody in front of him wound up running into either the person in front of him or getting collected, and somebody sitting there in the middle of the track. So for Harrison Burton, lucky to get through it, and he's going to gain a whole lot of positions out of that as well.
So with that being said, we're going to go to a quick break as we send it off here with that accident that just happened here from Auto Club Speedway. Back from Auto Club Speedway there, you see Greg Biffle well off the pace coming into the pit lane. That should not be any issues for this restart here now, as we just saw a lot of cars crash here from Auto Club, stemming from Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott, 2 Hendrick teammates coming together, putting Elliott head on into the outside while collecting another Hendrick driver, William Byron, and many, many other drivers as well. Jay, a very calm race so far, and chaos just kicked off out of nowhere from a green flag pit stop, and we still have one more potential green flag pit stop coming. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, a completely unexpected moment, and now we know that with one more green flag pit stop, we could be in shape to potentially see that happen again.
Yeah, a little bit of carnage is just shaking this race up and put a whole different spin on it and story on it now. We still got Kevin Harvick and Tyler Reddick as first, as 1 and 2, but then we got Denny Hamlin there now in 3rd, Joey Logano in 4th, Kyle Larson there in 5th. Justin Haley lost a couple of positions back down to 6th, but the big thing, Brad Keselowski up to 7th place, and the same thing for Ricky Stenhouse there in 8th, and Ross Chastain in 9th. Yeah. There's some, and Corey LaJoie also in top 10 again. We saw Corey LaJoie last year get several top 10s in our NR series, and proving once again this year that he's going to be competitive once again. So there's, with some big name drivers getting taken out, there's certainly an opportunity now for some smaller teams or for some drivers that were already struggling in this race to now get themselves in a much better position and closer to that top 10, and it puts a whole new fight on this race as well.
And fortunately, in our series, we don't have to worry about any parts shortages after these cars just got completely junked here in Auto Club Speedway. Now, as we look a little bit further down the order already, you can see right here some lack of speed, especially in that 12 car of Ryan Blaney, who was involved in that accident. They're not what you want to see. And I mean, Kyle Busch, of course, he's well behind now in 24th place after being involved in that accident as well. And I mean, we just mentioned, I swear, it's not even a commentator's curse we have with Kyle Busch. I think just doing an NR series is a curse for Kyle Busch, because his luck is just exactly where it was last year, it feels like already.
Yeah, Kyle Busch certainly didn't have a good Daytona 500, and same thing here at Auto Club. Got some bad luck to strike him in both races so far, and he's still in this race, so there's a possibility if some chaos kicks off again where he could miss it and maybe gain some positions that way. But with Kyle Busch's luck, he could be running 35th. 10 seconds off the pace, he'll still find a way to get involved in a wreck if it does happen. So Kyle Busch, unfortunately, in a bad position right now. But first two races of the season, not going to kill his season. Certainly not good to have the momentum going the wrong way for Kyle Busch. But he's got a whole year to still turn this thing around, and I think we'll be able to potentially see him do that because he's still Kyle Busch. He's still very, very good. He's just got to get out of that bad luck streak.
And don't forget, if you're in the top 30 in points, all it takes is one single win to put you inside of the playoffs, and that is, of course, as long as we don't have more than 16 different winners. You saw Hamlin try to make a pass on Tyler Reddick. That has now put him under attack from Kyle Larson, but look at the run he's able to get there on that inside as he comes through turn 4. He was about to be cleared by the 5, and now he got up alongside the 8, but now it's going to even out here alongside the 5 again. Keselowski, Chastain, like Jay was mentioning, having really nice runs here now in this third and final stage after the chaotic moment we saw moments prior. There's Hamlin, Jay. I mean, he's doing a really good job right now trying to hold his own on the inside, but still you can see even if a strong car is doing it, it's not enough as he continues to fall down on that inside, and now he gets into the line.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to really see that inside lane work unless you get 3, 4, 5 drivers down there. We saw the inside lane really working at the start of this race when they were too wide for the first several laps, and it was able to continue to work. But then as soon as some cars started dipping out of it and going to the high side, it really lost all momentum. And Tyler Reddick actually going to the inside now, having Joey Logano follow him, and then Justin Haley back there in the 31 follow him as well. Maybe Logano can perhaps push Reddick a little bit here through the corner to maybe get clear of Harvick here. He almost got clear. Now going to go down the back straightaway, lose the momentum to the high side. But if Tyler Reddick stays on the inside here, and if he stays to the inside of Harvick, that inside lane in turn 3 is superior than the outside lane in turn 4. We might see Reddick be able to finally make the pass here and make the move on Kevin Harvick.
And look, he's got some more help. Denny Hamlin's going to come down as well. It doesn't seem like he's going to actually stay there, though. He's going to jump up to the top. Reddick pretty even right now with that 4 down the front straightaway. And what's different this time is we're seeing help to that 8 car when he's trying to make this move. But I think you might need a little bit more. Kyle Larson, though, in perfect position to where if that inside doesn't work, he could find himself very quickly in second place. But Jay, it looks like that 8 car is clear. But not going to last.
But then the momentum immediately picked up for Kevin Harvick, and he had no chance to even make a slide job there. And this time around, I don't think he's going to stay as close to Harvick as he was last time around. And yeah, he did lose being side by side there with Kevin Harvick, so I don't think he's going to be able to get the pass done again. But if he gets one more car, I think, to go down there and help him, I think he'll be able to make a good run at this. He's just got to have a 3rd car in line. He can't really be doing this only with 1 car behind him helping him. And Justin Haley is on the inside, but he's a little bit far back right now.
We'll see what happens here as they dive down into turn 1. Pretty even right now. Maybe a bit of an advantage towards that 8 of Reddick. This could be it right here. Is there going to be enough momentum, though, for Harvick to be able to build up a run on the exit of turn 2? It's going to be close, but it looks like, yes, the momentum is on Harvick's side. Reddick had a chance right there, Jay, to slide up if he wanted to, but he just didn't take it.
Yeah, he didn't take it at all, and this time around, much closer than he had been before, so maybe through 3 and 4 right here, he could maybe find his way in front of Kevin Harvick off of turn 4, getting a push from Joey Logano as well. I think this is the closest we've seen Logano to Reddick, but Reddick is actually going to have to block Logano because he's showing his nose a little bit like he wants to make it 3 wide, so that's actually hurting both of those drivers. I don't know why Logano would have done that, but this time in 1 and 2, I mean, you can see he immediately gets cleared to Harvick, but then Harvick, you watch him immediately get that run. This time, Reddick had a chance right there again, a big chance that time, his biggest one, to move up to the outside, and still didn't do it.
And there you see in the background, Keselowski now down to 11th place. He's drifted outside of the top 10. Bowman has moved up into that 10th position. Kyle Larson way up to the top here now as they come through 3 and out of turn 4. Kind of maybe puts a bit of a halt to that momentum on the outside. That's the most broken up we've seen it, Jay. That could be maybe Reddick's opportunity, but as we say that 22 gets separated. Now the 5 closes in on the back of the 4.
Yeah, unfortunately for Reddick and for Logano, they were separated, and it didn't take very long for Larson to get back up to the bumper of Harvick, so they weren't really able to make anything happen there. And I mean, you can just see through 1 and 2, Reddick is able to do a really good job staying in front of Harvick, and then as soon as they go to the exit, Harvick just powers around the outside and is able to make that outside lane really work. So the inside lane right now is not going to be able to work with just 2 cars in the inside lane. They really need a 3rd or 4th car to go down there and help, and they also need to have Harvick and Larson separated. But this time around, Logano is going to push the issue, go 3 wide, and that's going to hurt them even worse.
And I mean, honestly, Jay, though, what we are noticing is on the final lap, that might be the way to go. I mean, you don't got to worry about turn 1 and 2 and momentum on that final lap. So, I mean, if you're Tyler Reddick or now maybe Joey Logano, you're looking to maybe make that move up the inside in turn 3 and 4 because you know you don't have to worry about that next set of corners.
But it might not be the winning move if you have somebody in front of you that you can perhaps push through 3 and 4 and get them to the lead, and then maybe you go and make a move yourself coming onto the front straightaway. I think that is the better move to make. I'm not really sure if we'll be able to see that happen all throughout this race, though. So if you are in a desperation mode where you need to get something, I mean, you can certainly make that 3 wide work. But you're going to have to hope that nobody has any help above you. But I mean, Reddick, he's been sitting in second this entire race, and now all of a sudden he's gotten shuffled back to fourth right now. Inside lane has the momentum on him down this front straightaway. He'll be able to get it back in the exit to turn 2. But Tyler Reddick just went from challenging for the lead this entire race to now sitting in fourth place and having to find a way back up front.
Joey Logano, your Daytona 500 winner from our NR2003 series last week, already locked into the playoffs, of course, the 2018 Cup Series champion, now trying to go back-to-back, and if he does go back-to-back, that would be replicating the exact same thing that happened last season in our NR2003 series, where Kevin Harvick won the first 2 races of the season, and now he is clear, Logano is clear of the 4 of Harvick quite significantly now, but what lane?
He didn't take it. He did not go up to the high side there to go in front of Kevin Harvick, and he's going to allow Harvick now to potentially get to his outside. Actually, he might go up here and on the exit of turn 2. He actually did. So for the first time this race, I think we've seen a lead change. He's still actually in the inside lane. He's not going up high. Now he goes to do it. Almost a little bit too late. Joey Logano takes the lead, certainly for the first time since the first couple laps of this race. We have had a lead change, and now Kevin Harvick's going to have to find a way to get that lead back if he wants to have it, and they're going 3 wide behind him, so he's not going to have any help to try and make a challenge at Logano this time around.
And pit stops, don't forget, green flag pit stops are not far away here from Auto Club, so we still have to get through that. And we saw what chaos that caused last time. Now, as you continue to see side-by-side battles up here in the top 10, I mean, Jay, I say it's been a calm race because there's been a lot of follow the leader kind of aspect to it, but at the same time, we've had a lot of really good side-by-side racing all the way up here in the top 10, all race long.
And now we're really starting to see the runs kind of build up, and people start to take any little run that they get and not be so patient any longer. And the patience has kind of been thrown out the window now, and they're going for broke and going for everything. The 3 wide moves are back. The 2 wide everywhere is back. I mean, you see Larson making 2 wide immediately there on Kevin Harvick. He doesn't want to stay behind him, and we might actually see Harvick, now that he's lost the lead, perhaps be a little bit slower. We saw that a couple times last year where we would have a driver lead pretty much the entirety of the race. They would then lose the lead, and they would all of a sudden start dropping positions one after another. And we just saw Larson easily take that position from Harvick. He's now up into second place, and Kevin Harvick is under fire by a whole lot of cars right behind him.
I wonder if Harvick's just starting to fall off, because you saw Logano, he's starting to pull away as they dive down into 3 and 4. Larson up to second place, and now he's under attack from that 8 of Tyler Reddick. So, I don't know, Jay. I mean, we saw in the first green flag run, Harvick held his own the whole way through. Even on the long run, he was able to be in command. But here he is, and I mean, it's pretty evident at this point. Clearly, that Ford car, as this race is going on in these closing 15 laps, that car is starting to drift down the order, and it looks like he's about to get cleared as well by the 8 car.
Yeah, Reddick's gotten around him. Denny Hamlin's making a challenge even to the inside here. But there we go. Harvick back with the run around the outside. Going to challenge again Tyler Reddick here. But there's a whole lot of cars on that inside lane this time around. So for Kevin Harvick, he might be able to keep challenging Tyler Reddick, but I think that inside lane is only going to keep getting built more and more up, and we're already seeing a couple of cars on the pit lane, so might not be long until we start seeing some of our leaders decide to pit. And it actually looks like Harvick might have just pitted.
Yes, he is. Kevin Harvick's in the pit lane. Maybe the right move there. We saw him falling off. Actually, might be the perfect move for Kevin Harvick to gain some track position for these closing laps here now, as we expect to see these drivers in the pit lane here momentarily. But of course, Harvick pitting early always brings up that possibility of getting trapped a lap down if a caution comes out at a terrible, terrible time here. And now, as Kyle Larson, he's closing in. He wants to, of course, defend his IRL championship with getting a win here in NR 2003. Eric Almirola was our champion last season in this series, but Kyle Larson won a lot of races here now, as we're seeing Hamlin and Bowman come into the pit lane here. Jay, these guys up close enough. I feel like if they pit now, they might have a chance maybe to leapfrog and get up towards the lead positions.
Yeah, and I think if you are any one of these drivers, you don't want to pit with that main group. You want to come in with just a couple of cars and be away from the possibility of getting involved in a wreck, but you also want to be careful, too, to not come to pit road too early and then get trapped a lap down, or just trapped with losing track position. So it's a little bit risky to be pitting early, but it'll certainly play off because you're getting the fresh tires on the car faster. And it looks like Logano and Larson are going to come in this time, and I'd have to guess, yeah, pretty much everybody behind him coming in as well.
The 47 of Stenhouse, he is electing to remain on the racing track. Now Larson, oh wow, look at this. He's going to try and overtake Logano into the pit lane there. Not going to quite work out there for him. He certainly took a shot at it, just not quite enough there. Now, as we'll see where everybody cycles out, it looks like we're still going to see a few drivers stay on track, like Kyle Busch there. I mean, Jay, I feel like Kyle Busch maybe banking on a yellow. He doesn't really have much to lose at this point, as we know that car doesn't have enough pace in it to really be much of a contender at this point.
Yeah, certainly hoping for a yellow Kyle Busch is, and I think if we're going to see one, this is the biggest possibility that we have of it happening once again on pit stops here. And for Kyle Larson, he's going to have to hope he has a clean pit stop. Brian Blaney, you see there in the background coming down pit road. He's also suffered damage in this race and kind of off the pace. But there goes Chastain and Keselowski. They're the first out of their box. Here comes Logano, and Kyle Larson still getting those left sides on. That jack is going to drop, and he's going to go. And looks like he might actually lose a little bit of time here to Logano.
A little bit, and here comes that 4 of Kevin Harvick here, as we're about to see where he is going to cycle out. Will Kevin Harvick take the lead? Oh my goodness, yes he will, and he's going to have a large lead, so he was falling off, but Jay, like we said, I think he might have played this to perfection.
Yeah, he really did. He got those fresh tires on a couple laps before anybody else in front of him pitted, and Logano almost was able to lose the lead there to Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson certainly lost some spots in doing so. Same thing for Tyler Reddick. So those drivers who decided to pit a couple laps later, they lost a lot of time and a lot of positions, and now Denny Hamlin is going to go around for second place. He's going to go around Joey Logano. So now the battle is on to try and find a partner to work with to hunt down Kevin Harvick, who's way out ahead right now by at least 2 or 3 seconds in this race.
The 47 of Stenhouse exits the pit lane as well, as we continue to see Larson. He's trying to get clear of that number 7 of Corey LaJoie. Will he complete that pass? Yes, he does. Is he going to slide up? Yes, he will. Logano in behind the 48 of Alex Bowman as well now. As Bowman, he's going to be into a net P number 3 here, as the 16 is currently the leader, actually, I think, of this race. I'm not sure if Allmendinger might have already pitted, actually. Yes, it looks like Jay. I don't know how it's happened, but AJ Allmendinger's leading this race, and it looks like I think he's already completed his pit stop.
I don't think he has completed his pit stop. I'm not so sure because you can look at how quick Kevin Harvick is coming
I think
here.
you're right.
I don't think AJ has pitted yet. So obviously he's down on power too, I believe, from that wreck earlier in the race. So Kevin Harvick not going to make too much of a challenge here or AJ Allmendinger is not going to make too much of a challenge for Harvick, sorry. And then, I mean, you look at the gap. The gap is pretty significant back to Denny Hamlin there in second place. It's just over 2 seconds for Denny Hamlin and Alex Bowman and Joey Logano to all make up on Kevin Harvick. And I think that is a pretty tall order to ask of these drivers to do in only 9 laps.
2.6 seconds the gap as they go down into turn 1 now. I mean, Jay, they do have an advantage right here that Kevin Harvick doesn't have. They have slipstream and they have partners to work together. Logano as well, Kyle Larson not too far back, so they can kind of work together here, but they're only going to have 8 laps to do it. Do you think there is enough time if they maybe stick together here with this 3 or maybe 4 car group to maybe run down that number 4?
It really depends on how much the draft is actually helping these 3. I'm not too sure if it's giving them that much more of an advantage or not. I don't know if it's really helping them a whole lot. We'll see right here how much time they gain after that 1 lap. They just gained 4/10, so it is certainly helping them, but 4/10 a lap is not going to be enough, I don't think. They're going to need to catch a little bit quicker than that.
And they, of course, need to make very quick work of this number 16 of AJ Allmendinger here. And it looks like at least Denny Hamlin will. But right now, you see the 16 doesn't lack too much pace in a straight line. It's really in the corners where he's really lacking. But nonetheless, you see it right there. He's going to hold up the 48 a little bit. He's going to hold up the 22. They're going to try and split him 3 wide. Here comes Kyle Larson. And Logano, oh, he gets the wall a little bit there. That's going to be a loss of momentum for that number 22, who still tries to remain, though, alongside. But that breaks up this little pack, and they gained about a 1/10 of a second, and Jay with 7 laps to go, we know if they gain that every lap, that's going to be nowhere near enough. They really need to settle in and try their best to get closing in on that number 4 car now, and they have that opportunity.
Yeah, unfortunately, that 16 really kind of caused that stack up there and didn't allow them to gain as much time as they normally would, but the 12 car could potentially hold up Kevin Harvick here if Ryan Blaney decides to be in the way a little bit, like we have seen the 16 do so far this race, and like we have seen multiple other lap cars do in NR, but it looks like he's not going to hold him up too much, and this time around it'll be interesting to see how much they gain on him. It looks like less than a 1/10 actually, so that's not even that much of a gain at all. Still over 2 seconds just to gain in just over 6 or just under 6 laps. That is a lot of time and not that many laps for Denny Hamlin, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, and even if they catch him, they got to somehow find a way to get around him.
And there you see Tyler Reddick scrapping it out right now, trying to pass Corey LaJoie, Ross Chastain rounding out the top 10. Keselowski, look at McDowell, who somehow found himself up into the 11th position here. They're side by side battling it out. That's not what you want to see. Denny Hamlin's going to cruise by on the inside of that number 12. What will he gain this time by? 2.1, and now it's going to be 1.6. They gained about half a second that lap, Jay. If they do that, they're going to get there.
And I think this is the first time we've seen all 4 of them be grouped up for an entire lap, so The four of those cars right there together, obviously much, much quicker than that one car by himself of Kevin Harvick. So maybe these four together, if they all stay together for these consecutive laps, they can make a run at Kevin Harvick. But again, it's one thing to catch him. It's going to be another to pass. Harvick, is going to block all over the place if he has to. So they're going to have to catch him at the right time where they have a ton of momentum on him and absolutely leave Harvick with nowhere to be able to block.
And coming to 4 laps to go, this time by, they cross the line 1.6.
Side by side like that.
Only a tenth that time, so if they do that, like you said, they're not going to get there. So they dive down into turn 1, and Hamlin right now is not getting the push he needs because the 3 drivers behind him are scrapping it out here now. And Jay, there's still one curveball. That 17 could play a bit of a factor if Harvick catches him at the wrong moment.
But I think if he's going to play a factor, it'll be to these 4 here. It won't be to Harvick because he's single file. He can just choose whatever lane he wants to get around that 17. These drivers here, they'll get all kind of caught up in him. So I think that 17 is really going to play a factor for this group behind and not for Kevin Harvick. And that is the one thing Harvick does have to his advantage. And he also has to his advantage that Joey Logano is being kind of a dummy right now and deciding to keep it side by side instead of just sitting in line and helping push this group up towards Kevin Harvick.
3 laps to go, 1.2 seconds the gap. They're in line now, and Harvick's going to probably catch his 17 at a really good spot unless he doesn't get ahead of him by the time they get to the corner here down the back straightaway. Harvick has a bit of a slipstream as well, which will be beneficial as they dive down into turn 3. He's going to get held up a little bit here, Jay. That's going to be the opportunity right there this group's looking for.
I did not see that coming at all. I thought Harvick would have been able to easily find his way around the 17, no matter if it was in the corner or the straightaway, but you saw him hold him up. You can certainly see that group in the background getting closer now to Kevin Harvick, but we're just coming down to 2 laps to go. Still a pretty big time, yet just under a second for these 4 to gain here. Now they're going to have to work their way around Busher there in the 17, and they don't do it here in 1 and 2, so they're going to have to find a way around on the back straightaway, and they're pretty disconnected. I don't think they're going to be able to have enough time to get to Kevin Harvick here.
Even if they do get to him, of course, getting to him is one thing, passing him is another. There's Harvick, there's Denny Hamlin, but his help is gone because the 17 is doing Ford things here now as they dive down into 3 and 4, coming to the final lap, and he's going to pit now. Oh, very, very cool there from the 17, and coming to the final lap here now, Jay Hamlin needs to hope Harvick has a bit of a slip up here in turn 1.
Yeah, he's going to need some kind of mistake. You can see still gained about half that time that he needed to gain there, but nowhere near enough for Denny Hamlin coming down on this final lap through 1 and 2 for the final time in this race. And Denny Hamlin, he looks quicker at the moment, but he still just does not have anyone there to help him push. Perhaps if he had a pusher, he'd be able to use the momentum to get around Kevin Harvick, but not going to be enough, I don't think, unless there is some kind of last-ditch move here in 3 and 4, and there's not going to be enough. Kevin Harvick, coming out of turn 4, as long as he doesn't make a mistake, will get his first win of the 2022 season.
Just like last season, race number 2 went to Kevin Harvick. It repeats itself. Kevin Harvick wins race number 2 of the season here in our NR2003 series in 2022. Harvick locks himself into the playoffs in that gear wrench Ford Mustang. And Jay, that is all credit to him pitting about 2 to 3 laps earlier than the rest of the field. Other than that, he would have probably been out of the mix down towards the bottom part of the top 10 as we continue to watch him fall, but his team made the perfect strategy call.
And he's also got that 17 to think, because the 17 certainly held Harvick up, but it held up that second group way more. And you saw Denny Hamlin was able to catch Kevin Harvick by the end of this race. Had he been able to get around, had that whole entire group been able to get around the 17, or just not had the 17 to deal with at all, they might have flown around Kevin Harvick. So I think he needs to go and give a little gift to the 17 car of Chris Buescher. And for Kevin Harvick, he, like you said, won the second race last year, wins the second race this year as well. Now we'll have to see if the same thing continues where he goes and has bad luck this year, or if he's going to continue on a hot streak and go and have himself a pretty good year and be competitive right to the playoffs.
Kyle Busch rebounded to an 18th place finish, still nonetheless not a good effort considering where he was running beforehand, and we know what speed that 18 car had, as well as you see Christopher Bella there in the 21st position, Daniel Suarez in 24th as his teammate Ross Chastain up inside the top 10. And Jay, some big changes there at the end of that race where we were able to see Corey LaJoie, a top 10 finish, Chastain, Keselowski, those 3 drivers, none of those guys are really in the mix for the top 10 until, especially in that first stage, we saw them, pretty much all 3 of those guys outside of the top 20. And here we are after getting through the chaos and making changes to their cars. Really, really good rebounds for those 3 drivers in 8th and 9th and 10th.
There's some pretty good finishes for a lot of drivers here inside the top 20 there. You got Chastain in 9th, you got LaJoie there in 8th, Keselowski in 10th. Chase Briscoe got a pretty good finish there in 11th. Stenhouse Jr. there in 12th. Austin Cindric in 13th. Michael McDowell rounds out the day in 14th. Harrison Burton rebounded from being the last car in the field the majority of the first stage to up to 15th. Ty Dillon 16th. Cody Ware 17th. Kyle Busch, unfortunate for him, down in 18th. Cole Custer in 19th. And Noah Gragson rounds out your top 20 in 20th.
And then you got Christopher Bell, Timmy Hill, as well as Jacques Villeneuve in 23rd place. That will probably actually be one of the few times to see him this season. We know they are going to be running a part-time schedule, so you will see him a few more times here and there. Daniel Suarez, 24th. Allmendinger, 25th place. Eric Almirola actually retired at the end of this race. They're not sure, maybe some mechanical issue. We did see him on track after the chaos, so still a 26th place for the defending NR 2003 Cup Series champion here. Ryan Blaney finishes 27 laps, or 2 laps down in 27th place, and that gives you an indicator that Almirola must have retired right at the end of that race there, since Blaney and Buescher still finished behind him. Greg Biffle 29th, Austin Dillon. Then you go down to Truex as well, starting this season in similar fashion as well. Jay, we talked about Kyle Busch, but Truex had a lot of rough luck in the first half of last season, and here in the first 2 races, I don't think he's had a top 30 finish so far, as he wrecked in Daytona off of the back bumper of his teammate Kyle Busch, and of course today really just a victim of the chaos between the 2 Hendrick teammates.
Yeah, really a lot of big names once again finishing down here in the 30th, in the 30s. I mean, you got Truex in 31st, you got Kurt Busch there in 32nd, Eric Jones in 33rd, William Byron in 34th, Chase Elliott in 35th, Bubba Wallace in 36th, and an unfortunate day for Landon Castle, Kaz Grala, and Todd Gilliland, all rounding out this race in 37th, 38th, and 39th. All of them pretty much getting in that incident and retiring with the wreck from Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. And just once again, like you mentioned, a rough start for a couple of these drivers who I think also wrecked in Daytona as well, namely Martin Truex Jr. off to a bad start like last year. Same thing with Kyle Busch as well. Both of those drivers on the back foot to start 2022, just like 2021. It'll be interesting to see if it kind of does the same thing as last year, where Truex picks it up towards the playoffs and Kyle Busch doesn't.
And that will, though, wrap it up for us here today from the NR 2003 series in 2022 with this next gen car. Overall was a spectacular race to watch there, with the chaos and the 2 to 3 wide racing here and there, and of course some drama at the end of that race in terms of strategy. Now in the next one, we head to our first 1.5 mile race of the season. We go to Las Vegas, but you look at the schedule apart from that, Jay, I mean, we got a lot of diversity coming up at this beginning part of the season. We went to Daytona, now we go to the 2 mile oval here in Auto Club, then we go to the 1.5 mile at Las Vegas, but then we go short, quote unquote short track racing at Phoenix Raceway. Then we have the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Circuit of the Americas, Richmond, Martinsville, Bristol Dirt. You look at these next 5-6 races, I feel like this could be the most chaotic part of the regular season. There's so much diversity. Who knows what this playoff grid and just points overall could be looking like in about a month and a half's time.
And it seems like it's that same thing every single season, where you go through the each individual type of track and try and figure out who has what. And this year, no other, especially with the new car as well. We're going to pretty much every single type of track we have in the first 2 months of this season. Short track, 1.5 miles, 2 miles, super speedways, road courses, all that good stuff. And the brand new Atlanta Motor Speedway, which has been repurposed into pretty much a super speedway, only at a 1.5 mile track though. So the early part of this schedule, really interesting, and it's going to, I think, show us right away who's going to be should be competitive this season and who missed it.
Absolutely. And if you guys enjoyed, of course, you know what to do. That does it for us here today from Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you guys next week from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Joey Logano wins the Daytona 500 last week. Kevin Harvick wins race number 2 of the season here on Auto Club Speedway. Who will win next week from Las Vegas Motor Speedway? We'll find out then. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time of your day for watching. If you enjoyed, like I said, you know what to do, and we will see you guys next week from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Have a great day, everybody.